Well, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, whatever your current life situation is. Hello, YouTube. This is Jeffrey Kite back again with another episode of Kite's Curiosities. Today, we are in beautiful Irwin County, Georgia, for episode number 8 of the Georgia 159 project. We're in the county seat of Irwin County, Georgia, which is Ocilla. Now, Ocilla, there's two legends about Ocilla and how it got its name. One, that it gets its name from Chief Osceola, the old Seminole Indian chief, who reportedly camped here in this area during the Second Seminole War. But also, some reports say that Ocilla gets its name from the Oswego Indian tribe of the Muskogee Creek Native American groups, which the Ocmulgee River runs by close nearby in this area. So lots of history here that dates way back. So let's go ahead and explore the beautiful history of Irwin County, Georgia. So Irwin County was named after this man right here, Mr. Jared Irwin. Now, Jared Irwin was a former governor for the state of Georgia, but he was born in 1750 up around the Anson, Mecklenburg County area of North Carolina. Now, he was an American Revolutionary War hero. He rose to the rank of colonel and got a lot of accolades and prestige from that. He was part of the Georgia militia after the American Revolutionary War, and he was the main guy that shut down a very interesting experiment we have in American history called the Trans-Oconee Republic. Now, the Trans-Oconee Republic, just briefly, it was a failed independent state led by another American Revolutionary War hero, famous here in the state of Georgia by the name of Elijah Clark. And I guess you could say it was the first sovereign citizen attempt in American history. But basically, Elijah Clark, he had a bunch of guys that was going to do some things, just real briefly give you a brief history of it. They're going to do some things, invade Florida and all this kind of stuff. And that never came about, so they went over on the Oconee River up near the Athens area. And they set up a big establishment up there and was going to separate from the state of Georgia. And old Jared right here, he went up there and said, "No, buddy, we can't do that. We got to stick together," and worked out a deal and, avoided a big conflict that could have got ugly. But he negotiated and worked it out pretty good. And those negotiation skills paid off in a big way. Later in life, he became governor of the state of Georgia in 1796. And he was governor from 1796 to 1798. And his main job was to clear up this thing that we know in Georgia history called the Yazoo land scandal, where a lot of Georgia government officials of the time was selling these huge land lots for very, very cheap to these insider investors, and caused a big old mess. Huge portions of Alabama and Mississippi was being sold for just pennies on the dollar, and it just wasn't right. It was a terrible, big scandal. I encourage you to look it up and learn more of the details about it. But Jared here, he was elected. He was elected to, clean all that up and get rid of all that corruption. And, again, that's just another example of how our government does some pretty crooked things. And they've been doing crooked things for decades, centuries even. But anyway, enough about that. After his term of governor expired in 1798, he was a state senator for many, many years. And in 1806, he took over for John Millage, who resigned his governorship for the state of Georgia in September, I believe. September of 1806. He served out that term and then was elected governor again and served from 1807 to 1809. And when that term expired, he went back to the state senate and did a lot of good things there. And he passed away on March the 1st, 1818. And then about 9 months later, in December of 1818, Irwin County was established and named after Mr. John Irwin in honor of all the things he did for the citizens of the state of Georgia. Now, Irwin County was created on December the 15th, 1818. And when it was created, it was a huge county. It was gigantic. All or parts of present-day Ben Hill County, which I've done a video on. Y'all check that out. Coffee County, Berrien County, Tift County, Turner County. All or parts of those was part of Irwin County. And then all of Cook County, all of Colquitt County, Lanier County, Lowndes County, all of those were part of Irwin County. And then smaller portions of Atkinson County, Brooks County, and Eccles County, along with Wilcox and Worth County, parts of those counties were also a part of Irwin County. I mean, it was just gigantic. And in a few minutes, we're going to take a look at it on the map, and I'll show y'all how big it is now compared to how big it was when it was first created in 1818. Now, around 1820, they started selling parts of land out here and get people to come out here and develop it and start farms and stuff. And in 1820, they were selling 490 acre lots of land for just $18. Now, $18 in 1820, that's about the equivalent of $512 in today's money. Can you imagine buying 490 acres of land for $512? Man, I tell you, I'd jump on that if that was true today. But by 1831, the land value, I don't know why it depreciated. I don't know if it's because people didn't want to move down this far south or what. But by 1831, land was only going for, $5 a lot on these 490 acres. And that's about $191. Still, I mean, that's still an incredible deal. 490 acres for $191. Man, you can't beat them prices. So like I said, Irwin County was a huge, gigantic county. And to give y'all some perspective of how big it was, I looked at an old historical map, and I'm going to show y'all the area that Irwin County was when it was established in 1820. It was all of this right here. It was a big giant square. That whole, you can see where I drew it in a pencil right through here. All of this area was Irwin County. Yeah, I forgot to get a little bit of part of Wilcox up here. It would extend up that way, but all of this was Irwin County. And today, Irwin County is situated right here. Let's zoom in and get a good closer look at Irwin County. It is right there. Let's get our highlighter and highlight this area on our map. And there we have it. There is where Irwin County, Georgia is. And as you can see, Irwin County here, it is located in the coastal plain region of Georgia, which is the biggest region of the state of Georgia, which is below the fall line, or what we oftentimes like to call the gnat line. So down here in South Georgia, in the coastal plains region, very, very rich farmland, sandy soil, because all of this was underwater millions of years ago, if you choose to believe that. I think it was a couple of thousand years ago, but you know, hey, ever how you want to interpret the Bible on that. But all this was underwater, and that's why there's sandy, rich soil here. Beautiful, beautiful farmland, and just a great, great community all down in this area right here. So Irwin County started out, like I said, in 1818, and people started coming down here in 1820, and it started off with just a few hundred occupants, a little over 300, and it has grown over the years to about a little over 9,000 people, and according to today's times, about 9,000 people live here and call this place home. So Irwin County, you know, it just kept growing and growing and growing, and kind of flourishing and stuff. And then around 1860, that's when things started getting complicated. South Carolina, in December of that year, 1860, seceded from the Union. And so that kind of sparked a lot of debate, and probably a bunch of debate that was going on before then, about whether Georgia should be part of the Union or not. And so down in Irwin County, it was divided. You had a good portion of the community was saying, hey, let's secede, let's support the state of Georgia and break from the Union, be part of the Confederacy. And then you had a group of Southern Unionists that were living here, and they were opposed to seceding and opposed to the formation of a Confederate States of America. And one such guy that was pretty well-known Southern Unionist was a guy by the name of Willis Jackson Bone. Now, Willis Jackson Bone, he had a big grist mill. He had a big grist mill out in an area known as Bones Pond. But you locals, including myself, as I'm from nearby Fitzgerald, Georgia, which is just 9 miles up the road right there, you locals out here know Bones Pond as Crystal Lake. So Willis Jackson Bone, he had that big grist mill out there, and he would actually help escaped slaves hide out in the swamps out there by the Lappaha River. And again, you locals who might be watching this video know, you know, where that is. That's them big bridges that you cross over as y'all going on into Tifton. So he would harbor those escaped slaves out there in them swamps. And so he just, you know, kept doing his part to kind of, you know, fight the power, fight seceding, fight slavery and that kind of thing. And well, eventually in April of 1865, he was hung for all of that. And then in May, specifically May 10th, 1865, about a month later, Jefferson Davis was captured in Irwinville, which is a little town just down this road here. And I did a video of that on my YouTube channel. Y'all check that out. It's a pretty good, interesting place. One of my favorite places to visit as a youngster growing up. And so after all that went down, everything got put back together and started moving forward in history. So here's a little community map of Irwin County. You've got Osceola. This is the town that we're filming in today. And you have towns, little communities. You got Holt out here on Georgia 32. You got Ray out here. It's a little farming community on the border of Irwin and Coffee County. You've got Mystic, another nice, beautiful little farm community out here in Irwinville, which Irwinville is also named after former Georgia Governor Jared Irwin, of which Irwin County is named after. You also have Arp, Abba out in here, parts of it out here in Irwin County. And you can see US 319 and US 129 coming in here, along with State Route 32. But there's lots of other routes that you can go in and out of Irwin County, Georgia as well. Of the roads I mentioned already, 129, US 129 and US 319, along with State Route 32. Those are the main ones, but also you got State Route 11, State Route 35, State Route 90, Highway 107, Highway 125, 158, and 206. So lots of ways to get in and out of Irwin County, Georgia. So you might recognize this duo here. This is Sam Moore and Dave Prater of the hit Motown group Sam and Dave. Man, they made a lot of wonderful music together, and they just, Grammy Awards, and they're in several music Hall of Fames. Mr. Dave Prater right here, he is an Irwin County native.
Something is wrong with my baby. Thank you. Something is wrong with me. And if I know that she's worried, oh, I feel the same misery. Oh. But we still got one
And I would be remiss if I didn't take a few minutes to talk about this man right here. This is Irwin County native Walt Sumner. Walt Sumner was an Irwin County Indian on the football team. Back in his high school days, played a little bit of baseball. He also went to Florida State and played baseball and football down there, and eventually found himself playing free safety for the Cleveland Browns. And he one time set the NFL postseason record for longest interception return for a touchdown. That record has since been broken, but y'all check this out. This is incredible right here.
Favor of the Browns. Renzo goes to the left, and that's one of the big stories of this game. Morton has been unable to get the ball to him. Hayes is on the right side. This is a 4th down play. In the corner, and it is intercepted by Sumner, and he is going to go all the way. The rookie cornerback with an 89-yard interception for a touchdown to make it 37-7. Walt Sumner, who was supposed to be worked on by the Cowboys, does some work of his own.
And here it comes again. You'll see him cut just in front of the intended receiver, who I believe is Calvin Hill, out in the left flat. Now it's Garrison. But Sumner, involved in short zone coverage, cut just in front of him and set sail. That's Tony Liscio chasing, the left tackle, 72, but he's got no chance.
37-7 now in favor of...
Well, there you have it. Here's our little tour of beautiful Irwin County. So, as always, folks, tell me what you think down in the comments. What y'all think about the history of Irwin County and our little trek through downtown Ocilla, Georgia. As always, folks, like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. Till next time, y'all take care now. Have a good one. Bye.